Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Nahmaduhu wa nusalli ala rasulihil kareem amma ba'd. Fa'udhu billahi minash shaitanir rajim. Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Kullu nafsin dha'iqatul maut. Wa qala an-nabiy sallallahu alayhi wa sallam أكثروا ذكر حازم اللذات. صدق الله العلي العظيم وصدق رسوله النبي الكريم ونحن على ذلك لمن الشاهدين والشاكرين والحمد لله رب العالمين. Respected youngsters and our elders, firstly, I've got no intention to sit here and do a bayan. I'm not a bayan person. Maulana Imtiaz, who is my childhood friend, he invited me. If he would have been Maulana Huzaifa, it would have been easier being a senior in age, not in spirituality or knowledge or in any other way, just in age. It would have been easier for me to say no, but Maulana Imtiaz is my childhood friend. If I would have said no, then he would have used that childhood language to persuade me. To avoid that, I had to say yes. You can ask Maulana Imtiaz what his childhood language is. So we're just going to have a bit of a mudhakara. Our Tablighi brothers know, muzakara, just reminding us all, including myself. In fact, I need to remind myself first that certain aspects of Islam and Deen we mention, Allah grants me the tawfiq to act upon it, and inshallah, Allah enters that message into everyone's heart and we can all act upon it. That is the main thing. Bayan, speeches, taqreer, waz, whatever you call it, the main thing is what can we take back? I'm sorry to say, not this masjid, but any masjid, an imam does a bayan every week. Every Friday he gives 15-minute speech. If I am to ask the audience that you've been listening to your Imam Sahib's bayan for the last whole year, let's not say the whole life, 10, 15 years. Now you give me a conclusion that in these 15 years, what has the Imam said in his bayans? What have you heard and what have you treasured? I don't think so anyone would last for more than 10 minutes to give that conclusion. So when we sit and when we listen to something, and I always mention this incident which I've read, Mufti Muhammad Shafi Rahmatullahi alayhi, the Grand Mufti of Deoband, and the Grand Mufti of Pakistan later on, the father of Mufti Taqi Usmani, Maulana, or I'm sure some other our youngsters would know what Mufti Taqi Usmani is. So the father of Mufti Taqi Usmani, and he himself the greatest scholar of Pakistan in those days and Deoband, he says, whenever I hear some bayan or some speech taking place, I would sit there with this intention that I may be able to take back something home from here and bring that into our lives. So if Mufti Muhammad Shafi can think like that, we all need to think the same, inshallah. I've recited a verse, and I think we've heard many, many bayans and speeches directly, indirectly regarding that topic, which is maut. Kullu nafsin dha'iqatul maut. Now, if we've heard so many speeches, we should be totally equipped with those tools we need to prepare for death. But ask someone, ask me, well, why should I talk about someone else? Are we prepared to die? Hadha Shaykhul Hadith Maulana Zakaria Rahmatullahi alayhi, twice in his life, the angel of death came to visit him, twice. And then when he introduced himself, that I am the angel of death, may Israel alayhi salatu wassalam. These are our elders. He said, Chalo to le chalo. If you're here, that means I should be, now you're here to take my life, my soul. And he said, no, more work needs to be taken. But the point is that Shaykhul Hadith Maulana Zakaria Rahmatullahi Alayhi was ready and prepared to leave the world at that moment. Are we prepared? We're not prepared. Right? We'll distance ourselves as best as we can. Though we can't distance ourselves, but we're not prepared. And that is the main focus point. There was, I read in one of the kitabs, an incident, a humorous incident, but that's the situation of all of us. That there was a woman, she had a daughter. The daughter became ill and very close to death. So she made the dua. She made a dua. Amma ne dua ki. Out of love, oh Allah, give recovery, grant recovery to my daughter. And if you have written death, oh Allah, grant her my life and give me the death. Now the dua was made. In few moments, it so happened that a cow was roaming on the streets and entered into a house, saw some food in a pot, and dug its head in that pot. I don't know how much the cow ate from that food, but it got stuck to its head. And it came out and entered into this house. Now this woman, she didn't recognize the cow, but thought, Are yaar, ye to koi ajibul khalqat hai. What's this? And straight away she feared that my duas have been accepted and Allah has sent the angel of death to take my soul. So straight away she said, No, mujhe kuch nahi hua hai, meri beti ko hua hai, meri beti ko le jao. So that's the fear of death. Har ek ko maut se to dar lagta hai. Many years ago, in our Preston, I don't know if some of my age, youngsters of my age, you understand? My beard, the white is the dye, not the black dye. So youngsters of my age, they were working in the graveyard, meaning that just removing the bushes and making it neat and tidy, many years ago. So this person after namaz, he goes, Maul Sahib, Qabristan to kittu jabru bani gyu. I go, haan. Abhe to evu lage kitta jaina par hui jai. Then another person, I related it to him, and he goes, Maul Sahib, yati bole koi dilti nahi bolto. Koi na hua jo anu man nahi thaita. And it's right. However, the lesson is we're not prepared, but our elders were prepared. Maulana Ashraf Ali Thanvi Rahmatullahi Alayhi, one of his disciples by the name of Khaja Azizul Hasan Majzub Rahmatullahi Alayhi, he wrote a couplet and said, he was a great shair, a great poet himself. He said, Har tamanna dil se rukhsat ho gayi hai, ab to aaja, ab to khalwat ho gayi hai. Maulana Ashraf Ali Thanvi Rahmatullahi Alayhi liked that couplet so much, he said, Khaja, and to his disciple, if I had 100,000 rupees, 1 lakh rupiya mere paas hota, just for this, what you've said, I would have given it to you. They were prepared for death. They were connected with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and they wanted to meet Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. I mean, why wouldn't and shouldn't a mu'min be prepared to meet Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala? And it's only through death. But what is death? Al-mawtu jisrun yusirul habiba ila al-habib. Right? Death, when we're traveling in certain countries and we have to cross a bridge and pay toll, because it's a shortcut to cross the river rather going round. And we're ready to pay. Whatever we have to pay, we're ready to pay. So the death it's a bridge which will allow two beloved to meet each other. Two beloved to meet each other. And that's what death is. A person leaves this world and is with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Man ahabba liqa Allah, ahabba Allahu liqa'ahu. Whoever has a desire to meet Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, Allah will have the love and the desire and the wish to meet that person. But of course, we are so weak in our deeds, in our actions, in our connection with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, that this is our condition. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala improve our condition and bring us more and more close to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Ibrahim Khalilullah alayhi salatu wassalam, on his deathbed, Malikul Maut comes and says, Chalo ab chalna hai. Kaha? Death, maut ke zariye Allah se milna hai. So Ibrahim alayhi salatu wassalam said that would Allah inflict death on his Khalil? Khalil. So the angel of death returned and said to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala that this is the response I got from Ibrahim Khalilullah. He said, doesn't the friend want to meet his friend? So he came back, Ibrahim alayhi salatu wasalam said, immediately now take my soul and take me to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala grant us these thoughts and grant us this heart and mind. The issue we have, sadly, is that the preparation for death is not in place. When we hear about someone's death, when we hear, and it's so certain, everyone knows, we don't really have to go in any explanation that whoever comes to this world, irrespective of his faith, his culture, his background, his origin, whatever, everyone knows that we're going to leave this world. We're going to leave this world. So whoever comes to this world will have to leave. That's why someone questioned Malikul Maut once and said, Ya Malikul Maut, you know what? Of course, not literally or physically, but it's mentioned just to explain how it works, that you come to us without any warning, suddenly, chalo bhai, take your soul out, and off we go. When the system of this world is that certain warnings are issued. You have a parking ticket, you have 14 days paid. If you don't, then it goes to 28 days. You've got to pay the full. If it doesn't, then you'll get a court summons letter. And then you'll get another letter. And then there's a process, it takes place over weeks, over months, and sometimes over years. But here, straight away, एक ही झटके में हमें ले गए. तो मलिकुल मौत ने कहा कि भाई जितनी warning मैं देता हूँ, and the notices I issue, no one else issue these notices. You coming to this world, that day, the message was very clear that you've come to this world, you'll have to go back. Then each birthday, 5, 10, 15, 20, you're in your young age, you've become baligh. All the hadiths and the verses of the Quran were there, that now this is what you have to do and how you've got to live because you are going to meet your Lord. And it moves on your old age, right? You're in and out of the surgery, you're in and out of hospital, right? Today, right, you've taken the chairs for the prayers, you can't walk for too long, you have a walking stick, the hair has become grey. And all these notices were there that it's time to meet us, it's time to meet your Lord. What more notices and what more warnings do we need? Harun Rashid, the great Khalif. Harun Rashid, there used to be a person, Behlul Majzub. You know, Majzub we call madman. The literal meaning would be madman. But these are the great saints and great people of Allah that who have kind of lost their mind in the love of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So when you see them, you'll see this person is mentally not well. But he has connected himself with Allah so strongly and so firmly that this is how the people will see. So he would frequently visit Harun Rashid. And Harun Rashid had a likeness towards him, and he would really welcome him. He would allow him to come in his court freely. So Harun Rashid, one day he was sat there and he had a stick. And he said, he gave it to Behlul Majzub. And he would have some humor with him. He would tease him sometimes. So he said, Behlul, जिंदगी में तुम्हें तुमसे कोई ज्यादा बेवकूफ मिले उसको ये छुरी दे देना. Give this stick to someone who you find who is more foolish than you. He said, okay, ठीक है बादशाह सलामत. After some time, he heard that the king is unwell and he's very close to his death. So he came to pay him a visit. So he sat there and he's asking the king now, the Khalif, that, what's happening? So the Khalif said, Safar ki tayyari, my journey, the time for my journey has come and I'll be leaving. Acha. How long are you going to go for? He said, I did say that you're a very foolish person. I'm going in a journey where no one returns. Death, no one returns from there. And he said, oh, that's fine. Then the next question after a while. Oh, I mean, you're going to go, so have you, when these dignitaries and kings and presidents of a country goes to other countries, and as a visitor, they send the entourage and everyone, their cars and their limousines and their security forces and secret service and everything there to make sure that everything is prepared by the time he lands in that country. Have you done that? He goes, Arey bhai, bewakoof, akele jate hai wahan par. No one goes with you. So he took the stick out and gave it to the king. He said, what's this? He said, Badshah Salamat, aaj mujhse zyada koi bewakoof mil gaya. And then he said that your journeys in this world would be for few months, few days, but the prep would be so much. And here you're going to your final destination. Where's your preparation? And the Khalif started crying and said, yes, I am more foolish than you today. And if we look and if we read this story and if we understand this story, each of us are just as foolish because we prepare for everything, every basic thing for this life. Apna karte hai, apna ghar karte hai, and then we'll go for the second house. We'll try to expand our business. We'll try to buy more homes. Bachcho ke liye kuch kar jaye na, aulad ke liye kuch kar jaye. And to do that, we will compromise with our deen, halal, haram, jo bhi ho, everything, because we are not preparing ourselves for our death and our maut. The other couple of aspects, so there's so many kind of aspects and there's so many lessons Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam has shown us and given us, and access to those lessons that a person constantly remembers his death. But sadly, that's become a problem as well now. We're not even focusing on those things, which is at the time of death. A person, when he sees a close family member or a close community person dying and he's there, so there are certain advices, and the main advice is that you start remembering your death, that today it's this person, end of life. Tomorrow it's going to be me. In the Fazail Amal, we hear this hadith, and you must have remembered, the Shaykh al-Hadith Maulana Zakaria rahmatullahi alayhi says that when a person leaves this world, and then the family members are grieving, they're mourning, and they're crying, the Malikul Maut, he makes an i'lan, an announcement outside that house and says, this is not the first or the last time I've had to come. I'll come again and again till the last person has left this house. But at that time, what do we have to do? There are certain etiquettes. And I'll tell you, and then I'll mention what etiquettes we use these days. The etiquettes are that when this person is leaving this world, number one, apni maut ko yaad kare. A person starts remembering his death, that a day is going to come, and it could be so soon. I mean, how soon it can be. your previous Imam, Maulana Abdul Samad, Marhum Rahmatullahi alayhi, Allah elevate his ranks in Jannah. And I think we all remember he was unwell, and in his final months he wasn't too well and he had cancer. And there was another person within the community who was unwell, and he was very close to his death. Few days before that, Maulana had visited him, and he mentioned this to someone, that wo bichare dekho ni, he's in his final moments. Ab to imni tabiyat bhi theek nahi male ne ave to imno waqt avi gelo che. It so happened within the next few days, Maulana became so unwell, and it appeared and it happened that both janazas entered into the graveyard together. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala elevate both of their ranks and all our marhumin's ranks in Jannah. So we've got to sit there and think that, look, it could be me next. I could be the next person sleeping on this bed. And at that time, what needs to be done? Surah Yasin should be recited. You know, the etiquettes we need: face the Qibla, right? Have silence there, very quietly recite Surah Yasin, Surah Rad. It eases the death of that person. The sakrat becomes easy. And then the talqeen time comes. The talqeen has to be done in the correct manner. Talqeen is reminding the person of La ilaha illallah Muhammadur Rasulullah. So that should be reminded, not force him to say it. Allah, oh, La ilaha illallah, La ilaha illallah, La ilaha illallah. And people with no knowledge would do it. Now that's the time of frustration. You know, sometimes when we engage in something and someone keeps on reminding of something, even if it's the wife, right? You understand? Because men are very quickly to show and express their anger on the wives. So the frustration, it triggers a frustration sometimes. So at that time, he's going through the sakarat. It's a very difficult time, very difficult time. So the Sharia says, you say, La ilaha illallah Muhammadur Rasulullah, just a reminder. When we hear and when we realize that he has uttered the kalima La ilaha illallah Muhammadur Rasulullah, you don't keep on reminding him. You understand? Once it's done. If he engages in any worldly conversation, and then remind him again. Then remind him again. Right? And that's how it needs to be done. Now these days, inna lillahi wa inna ilayhi raji'un, your WhatsApp and the mobiles will come out. Picture. Wait, who is it for? A Canada mama hagaone kemne ki bhai apra motabaji jailala cha. Allah, the angel of death is not on the group. You understand? Right? Just try to get the message. Canada na hagao, America na hagao, India na hagawi na hu karwana cha. You know, that's the mindset. And sadly, these days, everyone's just so quick to make sure that I'm the first one to get this message out. Right? Say, so and so has a Haji Sahib gujre gaya. Haji Sahib gujre. Allah bhai, why are you rushing? Leave it to the family. You understand? There's a system in place. Even if people find out 30 minutes after he dies, nothing's happening. A friend of mine called once in Preston, and he goes, Are Maul Sahib, and in 3 masjids, announcement had made that so and so has passed away. And he is calling me that, Are Maul Sahib, my father is still alive. And then the khadim for the funeral services, he ended up in the hospital. He's still alive, right? Though he left after a few moments, so I told him that, look, you stop worrying about these things, just sit near your dad and pray Yasin. To text messages. But this is, and it's happened more than once. In fact, I'll tell you another incident. In a masjid, not in Preston, alhamdulillah, I wish it never happens. After Fajr, this person goes to the Imam Sahib and whispers in his ear, Imam Sahib, Bila Shabbir Bhai, it could be Shabbir Bhai or someone else. He has passed away. integral take yours. Imam Sahib goes, the caretaker, to the caretaker, what are you saying? What are you saying? Yesterday after Isha, we were together. We had a very lengthy conversation and everything was fine. There was nothing wrong with him. And he goes, Imam Sahib, death has no time bound. It can happen. Imam Sahib ko bhi ye hua ki, yeah, we've come across so many incidents that people were well and then suddenly within hours they died. So he makes an announcement that I'm so sad to announce that our Shabbir Bhai has passed away. Allah ki rahmat mein pahunch gaye. And from the third serve, a person stands up. Are main unta jeevto chu. Are I'm alive. Right? So this is what's happening. That people are focused on something which they shouldn't be focused on. Right? Choro ina. You understand? Just there's certain people, mashallah, our text message, Zahid by Waid, I think his nickname, people nickname him with Malikul Maut, right? The mashallah, I mean, I myself, I always wait for his message. It doesn't matter what comes to me first. If I have to forward it to someone, I will only forward a message which comes, because it comes very, is very authentic. Khair, jo bhi ho. So this is what we need to do. Once, right, do it the right way. The other thing which, I mean, I'm just mentioning the mishaps which are taking place within our community. Ta'ziyat. You know the ta'ziyat, what's ta'ziyat? To comfort the deceased, right? To just ease his burden of his loss. And you go there and you give him some du'as. Azam Allahu ajrak wa ahsana aza'ak wa ghafara limayyitik. And just give him these du'as, right? Give him the talqeen of sabr. In the hadith it says that when someone does ta'ziyat for someone, Allah will clothe him on the day of judgment with a garment of honor. And in fact, in a hadith, Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam says, when you go to do ta'ziyat and when you comfort a person, you will get the same reward of the reward he's going to receive on his patience of his loss. So that's the way to do it. There are certain etiquettes and certain masails, right? There's no need to go for more than 3 days. You only need to go once, right? And then regarding the food, immediate family members, right? They, you can, or just a family. Some fuqaha says you send it only for 1 day, and some say you can send it for 3 days. And what we see these days, you know, the gham and the grief, when you go to someone's house where the ta'ziyat has taken place, and if you don't know any family members, you'll be lost. You know, it's a majlis, it's a gathering, it's a gupshup. And in some places I've been, I felt that I've come to agle divasni shadini dawat mein. A whole man, everyone's eating, there are about 50, 60, 100 people eating. Right? Half of, and sometimes some family member has died in another country, and 50% of them haven't even seen him. They've not even met him. And they're all sitting there and eating. That's all wrong. Ye to koi tarika hi nahi hai. You know, certain things which happens, even, and then I'll mention 1 or 2 incidents of our Shaykh Rahmatullahi alayhi, that what ta'ziyat is. Number 1, Hadith Shaykh Rahmatullahi alayhi was against that people travel from so far, right, just to sit for ta'ziyat. Janaza may be something else, but after 2-3 days, you'll travel all the way to London. Why? Because Nayar Mara Poirana Kakahara Gujriga. Poirana Kakahara Gujriga. Now you're going to travel all the way to London. What? Just to sit there for 5, 10, 15 minutes. Okay. Hadith Shaykh al-Hadith Maulana Zakaria Rahmatullahi alayhi was totally against this opinion, and practically he ensured that this is how it happens. Number 2, what happens, that at the time of death, when we get together, we'll come there. Ke manda uta. Abe bhai to kabar mein pahunchi gaya, abe puchya ho. Tabiyat tumhara bota masjid dawa karta uta. Are bhai behine kul hulla parni. Right? Ye ave gya. Maulana Yusuf Rahmatullahi alayhi, who was the son-in-law of the Shaykh al-Hadith, Maulana Zakaria rahmatullahi alayhi, and the cousin brother. And we all know his name, the great Amir of Tabligh, Maulana Yusuf rahmatullahi alayhi. When he passed away, and when they found out, it was in the afternoon after Zohar, when Maulana Talha or someone broke the news to the Shaykh al-Hadith, Maulana Zakaria rahmatullahi alayhi. Maulana Zakaria, Shaykh al-Hadith, Maulana Zakaria rahmatullahi alayhi, immediately, straight away, he went to the masjid and engaged in nawafil for the Isal Sawab of Maulana Yusuf rahmatullahi alayhi. In fact, Maulana Yusuf rahmatullahi alayhi would say in his life, in bade miya ke samne hum chale jaye to acha, ye par kar bakhshenge, ye par kar bakhshenge. That was the Shaykh al-Hadith rahmatullahi alayhi. And of course, because of Maulana Yusuf rahmatullahi alayhi, had the Shaykh in Saharanpur, so hundreds and thousands of people started gathering near the house and near the place of the Shaykh al-Hadith, Maulana Zakaria rahmatullahi alayhi. But he just stayed in the masjid till Asar. After Asar, he came home and he told his daughters that, look, I'm not going to sit here, I'll come and visit you after Isha. But until then, recitation of the Quran, tasbih, carry on. No gossips, no worldly conversations. And he told the people who were here, you sit here, you can gossip, you can talk, do what you want, I'm off. I don't have time to sit with you. And again, he went back to the masjid and stayed there till after Isha. His daughters, following the advice and taking the advice of the father, right, continued with the tasbih, with the recitation of the Quran and everything. Right? Because the Shaykh al-Hadith, Maulana Zakaria rahmatullahi knew what do they want the most at that time. You know, a person who has left this world, he's going to go through so many stations. Here, I mean, if your father or your mother becomes ill, straight away you'll be calling the GP, you'll be calling the ambulance, you'll be having a go at the hospital, and you'll be rushing your loved ones to the hospital, and then you'll be phoning around all your concerns. But when they've left this world, your concerns should be more. Why aren't we doing what needs to be done for them? So, and another incident of the Shaykh al-Hadith, Maulana Zakaria rahmatullahi alayhi, he says, his daughter, now everyone knew this principle of his life. His daughter, right, Shakira Marhuma, that was her name. And the Shaykh al-Hadith, Maulana Zakaria rahmatullahi alayhi, mentions her the incident of her death, that she was unwell. Maulana Yusuf rahmatullahi alayhi came, and then Maulana Yusuf rahmatullahi alayhi started reciting Yasin and Salamun Qawlam min Rabbir Rahim. Salamun Qawlam min Rabbir Rahim. I mean, these daughters were the daughters of the Shaykh rahmatullahi alayhi, right? Each day they would prepare food for so many people. The iftari would be going to so many masjids. The Shaykh al-Hadith rahmatullahi alayhi was, anyone comes, any mehman, by हमारे साथ खा लेना, हमारे साथ खा लेना. Of course, we didn't see that side of the Shaykh rahmatullahi alayhi. Some fortunate saw, alhamdulillah, me at the age of 9, I was able to see and visit, and when the Shaykh rahmatullahi alayhi came here, some elders saw him for more. But the Shaykh al-Hadith rahmatullahi alayhi and the girls would prepare this food, but even with this, 20 to 25 juz of the Quran every day they would recite in Ramadan. 20 to 25, that's another story. You know, right? So the Shakira Marhuma, she left this world when the words, the ayat Salamun Qawlam min Rabbir Rahim was recited, and she left this world. Everyone knew the rule of the Shaykh al-Hadith rahmatullahi alayhi, so no one dared to come travel from other parts of the country, or other parts of the cities, or from anywhere. No one came. But the Shaykh says that I was shocked and surprised that I received 200 postcards, approx 200 postcards, each one saying that we knew your usul, your principle. So what we did, rather visiting you for ta'ziyat, we've spent that money to do sadaqah for her, and spending that time to travel and back, we did some Isal Sawab. And that's what needs to be done. You go to someone's house, you understand, rather, right? You sit there, you recite Kul Huwallahu Ahad, and say something good to the person, you know, hame masjid mein bhi dua karavi. Or at home, we recited Surah Yasin together, and we send the reward to your father. Or I'm going to finish the Quran, and I mean, these things will make happy. You understand? There's someone who's been bereaved, these things will make them happy rather than, right? And then one other craze comes, okay, people will rush for janaza. Hey, why are you rushing for janaza? Chalo bhai, it's good together. Right? Janaza pella mojwai jaine. You know, I don't know. I mean, but for years and years, you never saw this person. Now he's died and you want to see the face. Right? Iski jalli kya hai? There was this person, he was called the Janaza Tayyar Tha, and someone called the Haji Sahib. Now he thought that they need my mashwara for something. So jalli bhagte aaye, and then he fell and he scratched himself and there were some bruises. And by the time he got to the Janaza, he was frustrated because he had to come through the crowd. So he said, oh, what do you want? I mean, you want to ask me something? He goes, no, I'm going to Allah 50 વર્ષથી નું મોં જોટો આખી જિંદગી મારું કંઈ કામ નહીં થયું આજે એનું મોં જોઈને મારું શું કામ થવાનું છે. You understand? So he took that frustration out. That these kind of things don't exist in our deen and our era. What exists, we go for that. And then finally, the graveyard. When we visit the graveyard, you know, everyone should be trembling when we visit the graveyard, because again, it's a reminder. कि एक दिन मुझे भी यहाँ लाना है. You know, everyone's going to bring me here. And what do we see in the graveyard? It's Ibn Abbas radiallahu ta'ala anhu, or some other great scholar, a great sahabi or tabi'i or someone, he said he saw someone laughing or someone talking in the graveyard. He said, I will not speak to you for my entire remaining life. You don't have any shame? You're talking in the graveyard. Graveyard, when you go there, that's, if you, to visit the graveyard, that's very good. To participate and to go to the janazas, it doesn't matter if you know them or if you don't know them, that's very good. There was this person, Maulana Abdul Hayy Lakhnawi rahmatullahi alayhi, in his days, he had a small business in the market, and whenever he would hear about a janaza, he would lock his shop, stop his business, and would go for the janaza. So someone advised him, and he hardly had any family members. So someone advised him, कि भाई हर एक जनाजे में जाने की ज़रूरत थोड़ी है. Why do you have to go to every person's janaza? Your business, I mean, here you've got to stop your business, you've got to lock the doors and put the shutter down, and then you go. And he goes, chalega, whatever. Maulana Abdul Hayy Lakhnawi rahmatullahi alayhi, the great scholar who passed away, and of course because of who he was, thousands and thousands of people attended his janaza. Now when we see that these janazas, so many thousands will attend, but so many will be left, and they'll come and they'll only get there after the janaza. So when these people, the remaining, they got there after the janaza, announcement was made that another janaza will be taking place, and it was this person's janaza. So in fact, more people participated in his janaza than Maulana Abdul Hayy Lakhnawi rahmatullahi alayhi, whose janaza was intended at that day. So janaza is very virtuous. Of course, we know the virtue of going for the janaza, but when we go there, there are certain etiquettes again we need to use. When we go there, again, whilst we're waiting for janaza, it's all gupshup, it's all talking about everything other than remembering our death. At that time, there are certain people of your family who have passed away. Take the opportunity, or even just for marhumin, just stand on one side, keep on reciting, keep on doing istighfar for them, keep on reciting Qul huwallahu ahad, right? Keep on reciting Ayatul Kursi, keep on reciting Lillahi ma bis samawati wa ma fil ard. Whatever portions of the Quran you know, keep on reciting and keep on sending the reward. Because these deceased, they know what's happening. They know what's happening. Sometimes, I'm sure some of you have experienced that you're discussing something at home, in family, and then you see one of your close family members or elders in the dream indicating towards something which is part of that conversation. Everyone experienced that. So these kind of things do reach them. In fact, all our good deeds reach to the deceased, and all our bad deeds reach to them. And of course, our good deeds, which will make them happy, and our bad deeds, that will make them upset. So these kind of things we need to consider. In the hadith it says, Mutu qabla an tamutu, die before the death comes to you. Die before you die. What does it mean? Kill all the desires of this world. And the other meaning is that every day you have to take out some time and visualize your janaza. that look, I've left this world. Text messages are going to go around. Family members are going to get together. They'll be taking my janazah to the masjid. The washing will take place. The shrouding will take place. And then some grieving will be take place. And said, and all this planning, कि okay, janazo બે અઢી વાગે છે 1 વાગે આપણે ગુસલ દઈ દેવું અડધો કલાક સારું જાક બૈરાઓ બી જોઈ લે બૈરાઓના all this planning takes place ને પછી આપણે લઈ જવું 2:30 વાગે આપણે અંદર નહીં જવાનું છે and then you can you must have heard it કે બહારના મહેમાનો ખાઈને જજો everything. Start visualizing that, and then you'll be left alone in that grave. You will be left alone in that grave, and then everything will start. Your journey will start from there. Start remembering. And this is where Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam said, "Akthiru dhikra hazim al-lazzat." You understand? Right? You prepare for your work when it's not even work time. Right? The next day, I've got to leave for work at 7 o'clock. You make sure that all your ironing has done, or you're ready to go, right? So morning, you don't have to fuff around, you don't have to rush around, and you're ready to leave the house at the right time. So for the death, we need to do that. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala give us the tawfiq and grant us the tawfiq to understand our deen and our sharia, how Allah and His Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam has explained to us. And whenever the time comes, may Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala grant us the death with iman and with deen. May Allah protect our deen. I was going to mention, there's no time, certain aspects that and certain deeds and certain zikr which gives us a good death. And one is La ilaha illallah, La ilaha illallah. And I'll end it, that keep on doing the word of La ilaha illallah. Because what you chant the most, that's what you're going to remember. And a sad incident I'll mention, that in Kuwait many years ago, there was a construction business of a person, and once he was called for an immediate delivery. So he went there and he was delivering it, and it so happened he ended up in an accident. An incident took place, and when they got to him, he was injured so badly, and he was near to his death. The only words were coming out from his mouth was cement, cement, cement. So if we ought to say La ilaha illallah, La ilaha illallah, La ilaha illallah, tasbih, inshallah, no one will have to remind you of La ilaha illallah. Always remember, I remember my grandmother, she didn't even know how to recite the Quran, but she always used to say this. Like many elders do say it, even though they don't have much knowledge of deen and much knowledge of Quran and Hadith, but they would say, Allah marti wakhate kalimo diye ne koi no muhtaj nahi banawe. I'm sure you must have heard this from your parents and from your grandparents. They always had these two du'as. When the end came, she started saying La ilaha illallah herself. And I'm sure this is not isolated incident. Many incidents have taken place because this was the worry. And we've got to worry about our iman. Everything. We say that, amara jawab pachi hamari aulad no hota hai. Tamaru hota. Worry about yourself, that what's going to happen about us after we leave. Right? And how many times then the family, it happens after 3-4 days, everything is back to normal. And then you'll go to the Qabristan the second day, the third day, the fourth day, then once a week, then once a month, and sometimes then Shabi Barat and only on Eid day. Right? We get forgotten. You understand? May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala grant us the ability to do what His Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam has said. Bismillahir Rahmanir Rahim. Allahumma salli ala Sayyidina wa Nabiyyina Maulana Muhammad wa barik wa sallim. Allahumma lakal hamdu wa lakal shukru kulluh. Allahumma la uhsi thanana alayka innaka ma athnayta ala nafsik. اللهم إنا نسألك من الخير كله عاجله وآجله ما علمنا منه وما لم نعلم ونعوذ بك من الشر كله عاجله وآجله ما علمنا منه وما لم نعلم اللهم أعنا على ذكرك وشكرك وحسن عبادتك اللهم أعنا على سكرات الموت وغمرات الموت اللهم إنا نسألك حسن الخاتمة اللهم احسن عاقبتنا في الأمور كلها اللهم اجعل آخر كلامنا لا إله إلا الله محمد رسول الله या अल्लाह हमारे गुनाहों को माफ़ फरमा, सगीरे कबीरे गुनाहों को माफ़ फरमा। या अल्लाह सर से पैर तक गुनाहों में डांपे हुए हैं, गुनाहों में परे हुए हैं। ए अल्लाह इन गुनाहों को मुबद्दल बिल हसनात फरमा दे। ए करीम आका परवरदिगार आलम हमें अच्छा ख़ातिमा नसीब करना, ईमान वाला ख़ातिमा नसीब करना। जब तो अपने पास बुलाए तो हमसे राज़ी हो। ए अल्लाह हमारी ज़ुबान के ऊपर कलिमा हो। ए अल्लाह मौत की तैयारी की तौफ़ीक हमें नसीब फरमा दे। ए अल्लाह जो मरहूमीन इस दुनिया से रुखसत हो गए हैं, ए अल्लाह तेरी उम्मत मुस्लिमा में से जितने मरहूमीन हैं किसी वजह से किसी अज़ाब या आजमाइश में मुब्तला हो, ए अल्लाह रमज़ान की बरकत से ए अल्लाह उनकी मग़फ़िरत फरमा दे। ए अल्लाह उनकी कब्र को नूर से भर दे। ए अल्लाह हम में से हमारे जिनके वालिदैन ज़िंदा हो, ए अल्लाह उनको सलामती और आफ़ियत वाली ज़िंदगी नसीब फरमा, और तेरी रहमत में पहुँच गए हैं ए अल्लाह इनकी कब्र को नूर से भर दे। ए अल्लाह उनको आला इल्लियीन में जगह नसीब करना है, तेरा अर्श का साया नसीब करना, आप सल्लल्लाहु अलैहि वसल्लम के दस्ते मुबारक से हौज़ कौसर का पानी पिलाना, और जन्नत के 8 दरवाज़ों में से किसी भी दरवाजे से उनको दाखिल कर देना। अल्लाह आप सल्लल्लाहु अलैहि वसल्लम ने जो खैर की चीज़ें मांगी है वो सब भलाइयाँ हम तुझसे मांगते हैं, और जिन बुराइयों से पनाह मांगी है उन सब बुराइयों से हम पनाह मांगते हैं। अल्लाहुम्मा इन्ना नस्अलुका मिन खैरि मा सअलका मिन्हु नबियुका मुहम्मद सल्लल्लाहु अलैहि वसल्लम व नऊज़ु बिका मिन शर्रि मा इस्तआज़ मिन्हु नबियुका मुहम्मद सल्लल्लाहु अलैहि वसल्लम व अंतल मुस्तआन व अलैकल बलाग व ला हौला व ला कुव्वता इल्ला बिल्लाह। सुब्हान रब्बिका रब्बिल इज़्ज़ति अम्मा यसिफून व सलामुन अलल मुरसलीन वल्हम्दुलिल्लाह।
Jazakumullah khair to Maulana Junaid sir for some very pertinent advice in regards to ta'zir and death. May Allah Ta'ala give us a tawfiq, inshallah.